What's up, everybody? Debo here. Another Wolcen, I guess, build that I've really been enjoying lately, and I was actually shocked that worked out pretty well. Livir Mortis build. If you guys checked out my last video, I was able to range a nice range summoner build, utilizing the range archer skeletons and their piercing ability through hunting swarm. But today, I wanted to bring something a little bit different and something that I've been having a lot of fun playing with it, and it's using the Livir Mortis, specifically focusing around, where is it at? The Thunder Cracking Punisher talent. It converts your base toxic damage to lightning damage, and someone becomes amazed that can cast a protective shield. With the combination of actually increasing its attack speed and then its raw damage, it actually turns out to be a very scary and terrifying damage dealer. Now, it doesn't have the piercing capabilities of the Hunting Swarm, with taking the talent of Oxidized Edge, but for what it lacks in piercing capabilities, it makes up against single target DPS, or just basically the rate at which these guys are auto-attacking and casting their spells. So the first thing we're going to go ahead and do is just go ahead and run through the stat points, because I think that's the very most important thing to go over. As all the builds I've been doing with a lot with the mage class, I like to run like a 2-to-1 ratio. 2-to-1 ratio being for every 2 points of wisdom, 1 point of toughness. So when I'm placing stats in, I usually like to get like 100 stats into wisdom, and then I'll just look at my toughness and make sure it's half. And then I'll adjust the points accordingly, as long as my toughness is half as my wisdom, just to, you know, have a little bit of stability into the build. Into the direct skill tree, this is going to be the same exact skill tree pretty much set up as the one I had with the ranged skeletons. We're going to be picking up the major skills inside of Scholar, Kabbalist, and also Plaguebringer. If you'd like to focus more on the damage, just for the Livir Mortis, there is a skill called Sovereign Shout. And this is a pretty solid skill if you just wanted to run like a bunch of skeletons with the Livir Mortis. Because this basically is a warcraft that increases the attack speed and cast speed yourself and nearby allies. So you have all your mobs out, and basically you're just spamming that ability so they can just get super fast attack speed and start shooting everything down. I will mention this though, if you're going to go that route, you will need a catalyst, because this build does require a staff or a catalyst. So keep that in mind. And then, so if you get a nice one and you hold out and you look for a nice, main-handed weapon, just keep that in mind. I haven't really fully thought about building a build around the Sovereign Shout. I'm going to look into it. If I come up with anything pretty decent, I'll come back later. But that's just a little bit of food for thought. So back to our skill tree, very straightforward. We're going to take all talents inside of Plaguebringer. We're going to take all talents inside of Kabbalist. And then we're going to take all skills down in Scholar. Yes, there's a lot of different combination things that you can do. If you want to experiment more, more than welcome to. But for my personal preference, I usually always start off by going directly for, as I'm leveling character, going for Attrition Strategist, right, inside the Scholar tree. And then I go immediately for, inside the Kabbalist tree, I grab all the major talents, like, or more importantly, the Power of the First Men, Immortal Offering, Grievous Afflictions, Insidious Decay, and also the Primordial Insights. And then as soon as I get those skills, I don't get the in-between modes. I just go basically for the main ones. I like to go immediately for the Plaguebringer Sacrifice of Flesh. After I pick up the Sacrifice of Flesh, I like to pick up Toxic Emanations and then Undertaker. And at that point, you could just finish rounding up by collecting all the summoner skills inside of here to make the summoners a lot stronger. Or if you'd like to do more ailment damage and you like the casting with Consuming Embers, then you can go for all the Kabbalists. But the main thing is, you go for the Scholars, Attrition, Strategist. You get all the major nodes instead of Kabbalists. Don't get the in-between ones, just the main ones, and then you go directly for the Sacrifice of Flesh to make your pets stronger. And then once you, like I said, once you get that point, you just fill everything out, and you'll have a pretty good survivability baseline with a combination of having survivability for your pets and then also being able to do a lot of ailment damage. Now, some people ask me, well, Debo, why don't you just go purely all for summons right now? And I don't really think the class is, I don't think the mage class for summons, because I'm a big summoner guy in any game I play, I don't really think, when you get into real high grid rift levels or whatever, I really don't think it's there. I think you're really doing yourself a disservice if you don't have the, some type of alternative damage to the to your summons. So your summons can be one part of doing damage, but you really want to have like maybe ailments or spell casting or something like that, or a skill you can rely upon in case you get into a moot point or you go versus some setups or stuff like that. You want to vary your damage so you're not stacking all your eggs in one basket. If they continue to improve the summons, and they decide to go ahead and change a couple things around and improve things here and there, and buff the pet damage even more, which I can't foresee in a reasonable future. We'll have to wait and see. I would always try to go summon / something else. Now, I'm not saying don't experiment, but just to be safe, at least from my point of view, that's what I would highly advise, because eventually, once they do get the pet class together, the summons together, then there'll probably be a really nice build where you can go where you have all summons and your summons just go in and kill everything. But that would still require a even better AI than we already have, and definitely a lot of modifications to a lot of the summon skills that we got. So you guys have been warned. So anyway, let's going into the build. In my builds, I always like to have mobility and then a way to escape, and that's going to be Aether Jump. That's our major skill for movement and escaping out of messed up situations, along with our combat roll. Also, another main thing that I gotta have is I gotta have AoE clearing capabilities for mobs and stuff like that. So we're switching up today. We got Anomaly in combination of Consuming Embers. And since we're running a lot of different ailments and stuff like that, the ailments should be proccing off with those abilities, no problem. And then actually for our core DPS versus certain type of single target abilities, we got the Livir Mortis. So we got, like I said, we got our AoE damage from the Anomaly and the Consuming Embers, and we got our single target ability, our damage from Livir Mortis. And the cool thing about the Livir Mortis today is that we're going to be doing the Livir Mortises with the Thundercracking Punisher. What it does is it makes a mage that converts all of his poison damage to thunder, and the auto attacks are ridiculous. And to top that off, we're going to go ahead and include the Rotless Endless Stream talent and the Survivability. And those are both 2 skill talents, if I didn't butcher their names too terribly, that increase the attack speed of the minion. And then on top of all that, we're also going to take Generational Grief, because a portion of the damage we receive will go to that summon. Since we're going to be duplicating the same setup 3 different times, the cool thing about it, it really will open up an opportunity for us to, the damage we take, to be split amongst 3 minions. So that's also something else I liked a lot. Not to mention the shield that they can naturally make. So the main thing with Aether Jump is you can kind of set this up however you want. I took, reduced willpower costs, increased range, afflicting a status because I got Kabbalahs. Willpower per enemy I jump through, increase the range, reduces cooldown, reduces willpower costs, and then you gain willpower. However you want to set it up is perfectly fine. That's, basically it's to your discretion for Aether Jump, because it's not that serious. You just really need it so you can get around quickly and get out of messed up situations. As long as the Aether talents you take do that, that's all that matters. Now, Anomaly is a little bit more interesting. And I only have a level 60 Anomaly, and it's nowhere near the level talents of Mother skill. Also, one of my Livir Mortises are also low level, so that just shows you the potential of this skill. If you guys remember Diablo 3, they had the skill for the Witch Doctor that was called Piranhas, and a specific skill called Paranado. And the reason why we like Piranhas is because any enemies that were touched by Piranhas, they took increased damage. Now, it's not necessarily exact same as that, but this skill, not only can you get the talent to double cast it, you can also increase its radius, and you can also set it so it sucks enemies in, and you also can take a talent that double sucks enemies in, so continue just bringing them in, and then top that off with the skill that makes it so ailment damage to enemies inside the vortex, any enemies inside there take more damage. It makes a fantastic skill. Plus it does damage, and it has the elements, and I've been really enjoying the skill a lot. So if you take a look at it right here, I got the increased damage. At the end of the day, I think, I like this setup. I might experiment with some other things, but for the main part is I want to have the increased damage to ailments when they're inside the middle of the vortex or when they're in the center. We want to increase the duration. We want the vortex to pull enemies multiple times. We want ailment chance score up. And then we definitely want Rending Matter to cast 2 vortexes. Now, I think there is one that reduces the cooldown, if I'm not crazy. or something like that. Or maybe you can go ahead and get the skills that reduce it, what have you not. I'm trying to see here. Yeah, I didn't think they had a skill reduction. So I really like this one because as soon as you cast the first one, you can cast another Vortex and you can just double stack them on top of each other. That's a fantastic skill. The only thing I might switch out is I might switch out the average damage, and I might do, honestly, like an increased area of effect because I want to get as many enemies inside these vortexes, and that's super important. And with that, of course, I'm taking the traditional, standard, fantastic, consuming embers. I got it level 80. It's a solid skill. And as always, I got the heart piercer on it, so it goes through the enemies and actually does the it has a increased area effect and it pierces the enemies and it causes the burning ailments and all that kind of good stuff. I got the passion of flame for more damage. Arsonist daydream, gotta have that for the willpower reduction. And then we got the increased number of projectiles, so we get 2. It lowers the damage by 30. If you want to not use that's up to you, but I like to have the projectiles. The 40% ailment increase, ailment chance score, and ailment damage, and that rounds out the whole build. So like I said, we got our mobility, we got our minions that could do the single target DPS, and we got our spells that are going to be able to deal with AoEing everything down. So that's the beautiful part of it. Now into the last segment for the gear. I'm looking for gear that has force field and healing and ailment damage, and I want to stack those up very high so I have a high amount of HP, force shield, and ailment. For your rings, you can kind of go with anything that increases elemental damage or resistance. The rings, I really haven't gotten it down to a point where I know what I want. But when I get a really optimized setting, I'll make a video in the future and talk about that. But for the most part, as you can see, like on my weapon, it got the poison element damage on this one, which is pretty cool. But it got me elemental chance score, so anything of a, under the elements that provide that cause ailments, those spells will be increased. As you guys see, I got the health and the force shield with my ailment chance score, and it's the same thing. Ailment chance score. I think I was able to get some element to element chance score and a nice belt. Same thing with the hands, and that's just kind of what I've been stacking. I don't know too much about the whole resistance thing. I don't know how too much about all the different stuff going on, but I'm sitting at about 40k HP and 50k force shield. And you got to remember that with the pet skills, they consume a lot of your HP. Like, lose 20% of your health and 20% of your force shield, but summons take 25% less damage, and we got all those. And every node that you take, it consumes more and more. So that's why we want to make sure you have a good HP pool. Plus, we want more survivability, and then not to mention our pets are going to be able to absorb a little damage for us too. So just keep it real simple. Even my gems just give me more force shield and more, more HP. It's totally up to you guys on what you want to do in terms of your gymming and stuff like that. But that's what I found to really help me out. I got this Lex Filianis. I like this one a lot. More damage versus the burning targets. 54% damage from burning enemies. Life steal from fire. Maximum health. Burn chance score when dealing fire damage. So if you're running consuming embers, I would highly try to pick this up if you see it anywhere or trade for it. It's a pretty solid item. I like it. Or you can just use a regular necklace. It's not a big deal, and then you should be okay. But that's pretty much what we're working with for the gear. And then outside of all that, I got the video loaded up here of me actually showing the build in order. I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit while we go down. It doesn't take too long. I think I get all 3 of these levels done like in about 10 minutes. But yeah, that's one thing I didn't like about the thunder crackling for the Livir Mortis, man. Those guys sometimes block your positioning and stuff, and that does get pretty annoying. So I do believe we're starting on floor 103. I think we'll end up at 106 after the 3 levels, so this is beyond 100. I'm going to keep pushing my character to see how far. I think this build could easily get to 120, no problem. Maybe 130, but beyond that, I'm not too for sure. I haven't really started pushing too much of the in-game because I'm still trying to figure a lot of the stuff out and things that I kind of like have been playing with. And I'm pretty sure if I went like a pure caster build, I probably could get up to 150 plus no problem, because the caster spells in this game are just so strong. Especially with the Kabbalist and combining with everything else and what have you not. So, there's going to be more into that. I don't know if I'll actually make a pure caster mage like I did in beta, because in beta I kind of have to because we didn't have any options for summons, but I think for a while I'm just going to keep experimenting with summons. I still got to work with Parasite, and I still got to work with the other minions and some other skills, and a zombie explosion type poison build, which, I will probably try to do next week, but As you can see here, if you see those minions, the little the Crackle Thunder or whatever, those guys attack really fast, and their damage is really solid. And not to mention they provide a shield. So as long as I can keep everything stacked up and AoE everything down, you know, for the most part, you know, my minions can do the damage they're meant to do. You know, they do really good damage on regular targets. They don't have the greatest AoE, but they do okay. But, you know, that's all right, because it's up to me with my consuming embers, and then, you know, anomaly or whatever it's called, the vortex ability. It's for me to kind of stack everything up and help with the AoE damage. And then as long as my guys can just focus, you know, laser down like an elite or something like that, that's pretty much all I'm looking for and stuff. The cooldown for anomaly or whatever is it is about, I think, like 10 seconds. It's for a pretty long time. So keep that in mind too when you cast it. Sometimes you don't need to always just be spamming it. You want to wait till you get a good set of mobs and stuff like that. You also want to make sure you always drop that on the major bosses and elites though, because that definitely helps out a lot. But as you see, just the attack speed of the Livir Mortis is just amazing when you get the mages, especially when you have 3 of them. Granted, early on in the game, you're not going to be able to have 3, but even when you can grab the first one, it's still a very big help. And then you do have like Hunting Swarm, and you know, you have the other, you know, little summon skills and Swarm to help you out, get through the early game. But as soon as you get to the end game, you beat the story, make sure you unlock the first level of duplicates so you can get your second Livir Mortis. And then, you know, you can start building more assets inside of your town. And then, you know, don't waste too much time. Go for the third one. Because I guarantee you, once you get all 3 Livir Mortises out, you'll be really good to go. Now, you can switch out the Aether Teleport. You can switch out the Consuming Embers if you don't want to really cast spells and let them do all the work and stuff like that. And that's perfectly fine, too. But I've been finding a lot of success with, you know, combining the... you know, these AoE abilities that cause pretty good ailments all alongside of the damage that comes from the minions and stuff. And that's pretty much about it, man. Like I said, the build played pretty smooth. I was trying to do it earlier with the Livir Mortises that, you know, the ones that tank the natural zombie skeleton one, and they just, the damage just wasn't cutting it, man. They were very good at tanking, but it wasn't as smooth as I got now. And I was actually about to be like, well, I don't think multiple Livir Mortis is actually going to be good. I was just saying to myself, but then when I actually got all the mages, I said, you know, let me just try all the mages and just see what happens. It was pretty awesome. Not to mention, you know, the mages are still tanky where they can absorb, you know, you got 3 different mages absorbing damage for you when you take hits. But as you see, that attack speed is pretty crazy. And you see how they're just, you know, just getting him down really quick. Now, I don't know. I think, you know, increased damage probably be the best thing to actually kind of get if you want to scale the summoner damage up. I don't know if my minions really benefit from my ailments, and that probably is something we would need to get like on a Wikipedia page or commonly asked questions like what scales a what and what does what. But you know, for the most part, like I said, they do a real good job and they do really good damage. And as they level up, they're going to be doing more damage and just being, you know, better and more consistent. I think what will help for the later Paragon level progressing is just getting your skills leveled up. Knowing what skills that you want, getting them set to what you want them to be, and then min-maxing your gear. And then as those minions get their levels and they start approaching, I do believe the minions can cap out at level 90. That will let you, you know, that will like slingshot you into the higher levels of the Greater Rift system when you, in this game, kind of, when you start getting into the Paragon levels. Because after Champion, then I do believe it goes on infinite amount of levels. And I forgot at what point the gear starts getting better. I think it's like we're on like 135, 140, and then anything beyond that is just, you know, pretty much for bragging rights or just farming. When I make my online character, I think I'm going to make that like a pure summoner. And I'm going to see how that goes, and I think I'll have a pretty good time with it. But for learning the game and exploring the concepts of games and trying different builds and for farming tech purposes, you know, I've been hybriding out ailments and summons for pretty much this whole entire time. Even after they buffed the summons, the AI was already pretty solid with the Thundercracker, with the, you know, Livir Mortis Thundercracker skill selection. But after the summoner patch where they improved them, all the summons and had them run by you, I mean, the skill is that much better. You know, like right here, if you see, like, you know, like I said, just between the AoE and everything and how fast they attack, I mean, it's just a really solid skill. And as I showed you guys before there, that warrior skill that's a shout that increases the attack speed of all your minions. If you have 3 Livir Mortises and you have 2 sets of skeletons, it's really pretty solid in terms of how fast they attack. Sometimes it's a little wacky because you can't really control and tell them like, hey, you need to start shooting here, and there's still some mobs that bug your summons out. But for the most part, if you're just trying to do a lazy man build and not do shit, you just run around, shout, it buffs all your pets. You have to make sure you're next to your pets though, of course. And then if there's any enemies around, they get stunned as well too. And that would be like a very easy way to start doing some content. Like that'd be pretty cool if you had 4 people in a group and they all had Livir Mortis and they had archers and they all had like different shout buffs or different things like that could increase their damage. Like if you had one player had the buff that gives you the shout buff with the attack speed increase, and you had another one that had the healing circle and had that set to anything that's inside the healing circle does additional sacred damage, then you can kind of start getting bananas where you're making a squad that not only buffs each other up, but it also buffs up your summons. So I thought about that, and I was like, hey man, that would be pretty cool as well too. One thing I do enjoy about this build more than the archers is that this build makes me a lot more tanky. The one thing I do like about the archers have a strong AoE game and they have a pretty strong single target. Whereas the Livir Mortis, their AoE game is not that great, but their strength is in their single target, since none of their hits pierce and stuff like that, and they're just thundershock abilities and what have you not. But, as you see, like, on this Demon Flesh right here, he's just getting melted. And that's why I like about it, because their attack speed is just nuts. And then not to mention, each of those minions are absorbing damage for you. And like I have to say, man, whoever made this skill talent that turns it into the mage, that guy... Whoever made that summon, that guy gets it. Because even before the summoner buff, that skill was actually pretty consistent, and the AI is really good. Has a lot of long range. You hit your ability, it pops the shield up instantly, and the guy just sits back and just, they just keep attacking. They're pretty on it. Very rarely do I ever see these guys have any downtime or them just sitting idling doing something silly. So, like I said, I really been enjoying that. My next build I'm actually going to be looking into is probably going to be the Parasite build. Either the Zombie Explosion build, which has a different setup, or the Parasite build. And the reason why I want to try out the Parasite build is because you can choose whatever minions you want, and I want to kind of test a couple things, see how that works. See, that's the skill I was talking about, Sovereign Shout. I actually found in this run I pre-recorded, so I was happy to find that, but... yeah, man, definitely want to see how Parasite performs. Parasite's going to be very interesting. I think the Hunting Swarm, the archers, we kind of know what's up with that. The melee ones, it might be interesting to make, a melee build where all the melee summons kind of go in and fight. That'll be interesting. Got to see how that will work out because, with the melee zombies, I don't know if their damage is... I don't think their damage is as good as the archers because the archers can pierce. And they have such range, but they do explode, I heard, for pretty good damage. They also do have a skill that makes it so that any enemies or summons that die within the circle, they explode and leave tons of poison behind, and I think that would be pretty solid, where you cast the, I forgot what the spell is, but you cast a poison ability on the ground, you send your summons in, you explode them, they explode, they do big damage, and they leave behind poison clouds. That would be pretty cool, and plus since you're picking up Plaguebringer with the, every time one of your summons die, you can it creates like a poison health globe, and you pick this up, which means more poison damage and stuff like that. On top of the fact you have Plaguebringer, which enemy standing around you is going to get poisoned, you could really make a disgustingly, probably pretty sick poison build. So I'm going to have to look into that too. But between Parasite, looking back into the, exploding zombie poison build, I think we're going to get some pretty interesting results. Like I always said, I hope they keep improving the AI and stuff like that for the, for the summons and what have you not. But, only the developers of Wolcen are going to know what's going on and what they planned on doing. I don't know. I don't even know what they're planning on right now or working on right now. You know, I always said the only thing they should be working on right now is just, you know, polishing the game more, getting it more up to snuff, less crashes, better optimization, getting the balance and fluidity better, maybe clearing up the UI, maybe fixing some other errors and stuff like that, because sometimes when you click stuff in your inventory, it doesn't actually click it correctly. You know, if they were to spend a little bit more time on the polish and then they started building into, you know, maybe thinking about, okay, are we going to have seasons? Are we going to have additional characters? Or, you know, whatever, yada, yada, yada. You know, I think that would be the right course of action. But then again, I'm not them and I don't have their power to decide anything. So, you know, it is what it is. So, I think this one specifically goes pretty well right here. Like I said, I put down that double vortex, makes it so that anything that's inside is going to go ahead and take more ailment damage. And then we just pop the ultimate right here. But I think I get knocked out of this pretty quick. Yeah, I do. But see, here's the beautiful thing. And then once it just gets down to the minions, it's just them just straight up auto-attacking. And they break through his shield so quick. Like, I really love Livir Mortis, you know, with a Thunder Summon. It's just a really solid skill. I mean, who doesn't like that? I mean, it's a solid ability. They're pretty smart for summons. They can take damage for you, and they provide you a shield. So, you know, and that's pretty much about it, man. I was going to let this play out, but I'm probably just going to go ahead and cut the video right now for time and stuff like that, because I'm looking at the 26-minute mark. But I hope you guys have a good weekend. Hope everything's going well for you guys. Make sure you guys give this video a like and a subscribe. If you haven't subscribed already, of course. And turn on that bell notification so you know next time I make a video. Got a podcast coming up 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Sundays. Make sure you guys stop by and see that. We do it live on twitch.tv/SPS Debo. If you can't catch that, upload all the podcasts to the actual YouTube channel. And outside of all that, man, if you guys ever want to check me out on Twitch, just live in general, twitch.tv/SPS Debo. You can follow me and you'll know when I go online. Alright, that's enough shameless promotion. So, we'll see you guys in the future with another Wolcen build. Probably will be, man, you know what? I kind of want to do that zombie explosion build, but then again, I kind of want to look at them Parasite. I probably will just flip a coin, or, you know, just leave a comment down in the comment section and let me know which one you'd rather see, either a Parasite build or the one with the zombie explosion build with the poison gas. Anyways, see you guys next video, and I hope you guys have a good night. Or day, or whenever you're watching this.